The 113th Brigade Commander, Palita Fernando, says that the Army, the STF and the police will take the responsibility of easing the fear amongst the people following the wave of female murders in Kawata and its suburbs. He gave this undertaking in order to disperse a protest held in Kawata today. The protest was staged against the recent murders of women in Kawata, Niradura, Kattange and Opata areas. The protesters requested to ensure security in these areas and to produce those responsible before the law.
A large number of area residents took part in the protest, and the Minister of Public Administration and Home Affairs, WDJ Senivaratna, also arrived at the occasion.
Sometimes this could be a planned program that is being done to inconvenience the police and the government. I called Gotabaya Rajapaksa. I suggested him to deploy the army and the STF in the area. One issue is that the police force is inadequate. Murderers are yet to be apprehended. The head of the Kuruvita army platoon has arrived. Tonight the army, the STF and the police will be on mobile patrol with the assistance of the area residents.
Despite the minister's visit, the protesters didn't disperse from the location and vehicular traffic was disrupted. Subsequently, several officers of the Kuruvita army camp visited the location. The protesters dispersed subsequent to the assurance given by the 113th Brigade Commander, Palita Fernando, that the safety of the area residents will be ensured.
With the victory in 1996 came power and money to the board and players. Players from within the team itself became involved in power games. Officials elected to power in this way, in turn, manipulated player loyalty to achieve their own ends.
Arundhati Naik, of course, will be joining us later on in the news bulletin with the very latest from the sporting world. Coming up right now is a look at the reports compiled by the News First International Desk.
Welcome to the News First International Desk. Making headlines, Japan's Minister for Reconstruction, Ryu Matsumoto, has announced his resignation after just a week in the job. He had been widely criticized for making insensitive remarks to governors of areas badly affected by March's deadly earthquake and tsunami.
Matsumoto had said the government would not help them financially unless they came up with good rebuilding proposals. The resignation will increase pressure on MP Naoto Khan's already unpopular government. Last month, Khan survived a no-confidence motion brought by MPs critical of his handling of the reconstruction process following the quake, tsunami and ensuing nuclear crisis at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. The Prime Minister is trying to persuade MPs to back an extra $25 billion reconstruction funds and would not have wanted attention to be diverted by his minister's comments. The 11th March quake and tsunami leveled homes, businesses and towns along Japan's northeastern coast, leaving more than 20,000 people dead or missing in the country's worst disaster since World War II.
Supporters of a new state have begun a two-day strike in Telangana region of Andhra Pradesh state in India. It follows mass resignations by legislators over their demand for the creation of a new state.
So far, 81 legislators from the ruling Congress and opposition Telugu Desam party have quit the state assembly. 10 MPs have also resigned from the national parliament. With a population of 40 million, the proposed Telangana state comprises 10 of Andhra Pradesh's 23 districts, including the state capital and India's sixth most populous city, Hyderabad. Security is tight in the region, including in Hyderabad. Schools, colleges, businesses and government offices are shut in the Telangana region and traffic is thin. Correspondents say yesterday's resignations could destabilize the Congress government in the southern state. 42 of the party's 167 lawmakers have submitted their resignations to the Deputy Speaker of the Assembly. They include 11 ministers. The final decision on a new state lies with the Indian Parliament, but the State Assembly must also pass a resolution approving its creation. Former Olympic boxer Nazar al-Shami was reported to have been wounded by gunfire as Syrian forces killed 3 civilians in the city of Hama on Monday. The 3 included a 13-year-old boy and a man whose body had been dumped in a river. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said tanks had surrounded the city after hundreds of troops and security police entered Hama at dawn in buses. A surprise homecoming Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez appeared on the People's Balcony in the country's capital. Thousands of supporters cheered and sang outside the presidential palace in support of their leader, who returned from Cuba after receiving treatment for cancer. He vowed to win the fight to regain his health. Homes, vehicles and roads are submerged as heavy rains battered southern China's Sichuan province. At least 6 have died and dozens are missing as mudslides have also taken their toll. 100 millimeters or nearly 4 inches of rain has drenched several counties since Saturday. For some who live in the mountains, flooding has swept away their only connection to the rest of the province. Americans gathered on the National Mall yesterday to celebrate the United States' 235th birthday by watching fireworks with the Washington Monument and the U.S. Capitol as the backdrop. Crowds packed downtown Washington to view the light show, which began just after 9. The 15-minute extravaganza lit up the Washington skyline. Similar celebrations took place throughout the United States. Fireworks could be seen exploding near the Goodyear blimp in Chicago.
For the very latest in the world of sports, we now cross over to Arundhati Mudannayak at the News First Sports Desk. Good evening, Arundhati.
Good evening, Mahina.
Arundhati, I believe you have excerpts of the hour-long speech made by Sri Lanka cricketer Kumar Sangakkara at Lord's yesterday.
That's right, Mahina. Kumar Sangakkara was chosen to deliver the Marylebone Cricket Club's Spirit of Cricket Cowdrey lecture at Lord's yesterday. Now, incidentally, Sangakkara was the first Sri Lankan and also the first active international cricketer who has been invited to speak at the annual lecture, which has been delivered previously by eminent figures such as Christopher Martin Jenkins, Clive Lloyd and Most Reverend Archbishop Desmond Tutu. In his lecture, Sangakkara traced the turning point of Sri Lanka's cricket history.
We had a competitive team with able players, but we were timid, soft, and did not yet fully believe in our own worth as individual players or as a team. What we needed at the time was a leader, a cricketer from the masses who had the character, the ability, and above all, the courage and the gall to change a system, to stand in the face of unfavorable culture and tradition, unafraid to put himself on the line for the achievement of a greater cause. This much-awaited Messiah arrived in the form of an immensely talented and slightly rotund Arjuna Ranatunga. He was to change the entire history of our cricketing heritage, converting the game that we loved into a shared fanatical passion that over 20 million people embraced as their own personal dream. It was Arjuna who understood most clearly why we needed to break free from the shackles of our colonial past and forge a new identity. An identity forged exclusively from Sri Lankan values.
Kumar Sangakkara also spoke about the cricket administration in Sri Lanka during the MCC Cowdrey Spirit of Cricket lecture yesterday.
World Cup also brought less welcome changes with the start of detrimental cricket board politics and the transformation of our cricket administration from a volunteer-led organization run by well-meaning men of integrity into a multi-million-dollar organization that has been in turmoil ever since. In Sri Lanka, cricket and politics have been synonymous. With the victory in 1996 came power and money to the board and players. Players from within the team itself became involved in power games. Officials elected to power in this way in turn manipulated player loyalty to achieve their own ends. At times, board politics would spill over into the team, causing rift, ill feeling, and distrust. Accountability and transparency in administration and credibility of conduct were lost in a mad power struggle that would leave Sri Lankan cricket with no consistent and clear administration. After 1996, the cricket board has been controlled and administered by a handful of well-meaning individuals, either personally or by proxy, rotated in and out depending on appointment or election. Unfortunately, to consolidate and perpetuate their powers, they opened the door of the administration to partisan cronies that would lead to corruption and wanton waste of cricket board finances and resources.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Sports, Mahinda Nandalutgamke, has instructed the new chairman of the Sri Lanka Cricket Interim Committee to submit his observations on the speech delivered by Kumar Sangakkara at the 2011 MCC Country Spirit of Cricket lecture at Lord's yesterday. A media release issued by the Ministry of Sports states that a report has been called for by the minister as Sangakkara has criticised the sports administration in Sri Lanka, which comes under the sports law of the country. Taking a look at other sports stories, Sri Lanka continued its poor run at the World Netball Championships in Singapore when they lost their second match of the championship today.
Sri Lanka took on Samoa in the match played today. The Lankans went on to score 53 points while Samoa came out strongly to take the game by scoring 57 points. Sri Lanka's defeat in the second match came following a loss to Northern Ireland 65-56 in the first match played yesterday. Meanwhile, Australia got the better of Northern Ireland today when they sealed a 75-33 points win.
FIFA President Sepp Blatter has warned that anyone found guilty of match fixing will be given life bans. He said this during a visit to Zimbabwe.
Your Excellency. Welcome. Please come in. Yeah.
The soccer chief made the remarks during a two-day visit to the country where the game is made in a match-fixing controversy. The national team players told an inquiry by the Zimbabwe Football Association that they were paid to lose matches during a tour in Asia in 2009. The scandal that rocked Zimbabwean football saw Chief Executive Henrietta Rushwaya suspended last year on suspicion of fixing the national team's matches during the Asian tour.
We cannot intervene at the first stage. We must let the jurisdictional organization of the different states, and when these people are condemned and found guilty, then we will suspend them for life. Then they will never come back to football, being officials or being players. Banned for life.
Now, to keep yourself up to date with regard to all the stories that we're following right here on News First, including breaking news, log on to www.newsfirst.lk or www.ethale.com. I'm Shamir Rasooli.
And I'm Mahina Bongso. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, take care and good night.